Hello. Today we are going to be hitting the next part of the book, Practice, Patience, and Possibilities. Um, this is more notes on how things are going to kind of like fall into alignment. Um, So when we first attempt to align with our newly designed self, some slip ups should be expected. It happens. Honestly, breaking patterns is harder than it sounds. Um, think of yourself as like a code breaker. Um, it takes time, it takes intention, and it definitely takes consistency. So those are going to be the focuses. Sorry if you hear my balloon squeaking. Um, those are going to be the things that we need to focus and work through. Um, so you should never accept that, oh, well, it happens. Don't just like brush it off. You're going to want to definitely be conscious of those things. Um, because catching yourself before you get sucked back into old behaviors is definitely the key to a successful transition into new behavior. Um, so if you start down like what I call the reactive road, um, stop. Stop ASAP. Um, as soon as possible. You can use a pattern interrupt. You take some breaths, count if that works for you, take a short walk, but find something that resets you and that works for you. Come back to the situation calmer and focused on the problem. Focus on the problem, not the feeling. Step out of the emotion. Yeah, staying grounded through that, staying present in the now, staying focused on the issue and not how it makes you feel is going to be a game changer. Um, it's, I don't even know how I want to say that. Um, okay, so all of these questions that we've been answering up until this point are kind of like the dictionary of our behavior. It's a book about how we function um, as individuals because it's all coming from our experience, our own experience, which is why I ask these questions the way I ask them. Um, so if you know that your behavior is triggered by this thing, stop focusing on that thing. Um, if there is a miscommunication, that's an easy thing to fix. Just, and I know I had to start doing this with my ex-husband too, is that he would say something to me and automatically I would feel judged. And in my experience for my existence, that was typically the case. So that's always just what I expected. So I was always very defensive, even when it came to like constructive criticism. Um, so I would get like very defensive and it would end in an argument. Um, that's not like a great place to be at. Um, so if I know that about myself, how can I communicate more effectively um, in that instance? Um, so I started repeating back what he was saying. Um, and telling him like what I was hearing. And then sometimes he would change his wording a bit, and then the problem would not be there. Um, it would be a really simple fix to something that was just a miscommunication. Um, so the better you know yourself, the more you can put those things into place to kind of like circumvent the things that trigger that behavior to begin with. Let's see. While we are not focused on the feelings, if you do have a slip up, apologize, because it's not conscious. Unconscious behaviors are still behaviors, and they do affect other people. So our best bet is to always apologize. That gets us out of the ego, first of all. And second of all, it makes the other person know, it lets them know that you are taking responsibility for your actions, even though maybe you don't have full control of them yet, that you are sorry that that happened. And that's a huge thing. Let's see. If you do have a pattern interrupt spotter, like at the gym, for pattern interruption help, it may sound silly, but it works. And it's better than trying to do the process alone. It can help with the phases of the transition where you are still slipping into the unconscious reaction. Just someone to say, hey, we're not doing that anymore, remember? And then you kind of like snap out of it. That's definitely a beneficial thing if you need that. Let's see. Another pair of eyes is also helpful for an outside perspective to deeply triggering situations, as the autopilot setting can take over. If you've ever just been like in a fit of rage, in an argument with somebody, and they go too far, and you flip out, and you're not really controlling your reactions. You're just reacting. There's no thought that goes into it. That can be a really alarming situation because crazy things can happen. So we're trying to get around that. And like I said, if you have somebody that you're like your best friend, or like even like a companion, whatever, you can always be like, hey, I'm trying to like break this habit. If you see me starting, say something to me. Like, pick something that works for you. We're all individuals, so whatever works, and whatever doesn't. You best. Okay, so our homework for this section is going to be what's working, what isn't working. Like for me, the whole counting thing, like I said, did not work for me. It just made it worse. Is there anything else you can try? Is there anything else you want to try? One of my daughters, when she gets upset, she will sit down and do a craft project. She'll color, she'll crochet, she does diamond painting. She will take some time to herself and do something that is emotionally stabilizing for her, because it's not taxing anything other than just her focus, and she can like zone out and just do what she's doing, and then she can come back refreshed and refocused. we're not all the same. Um, when I'm mad, I don't, I do not want to sit down and, you know, focus on anything. I want to just be. I just want to let everything go and sit in nature. I don't care. I have driven 15 miles to go sit in a snowbank. It's just what it is. I just need the quiet. I need the fresh air. I need, you know, that amount of just dead space where I don't have to focus on anything. Um, and that's what resets me. So all that, you guys have options. You know you best. Um, our next um, section, I'm going to start doubling the smaller ones up because it's more effective for time's sake. This is Curiosity Over Condemnation. This is a really, really cool chapter. I thought this was really important for this whole dynamic between the atom structure and the Eve fluidity. Um, I love the dynamic between both sides of that. So as we dive into the process, I'm going to start reading for you guys. So as we dive into the process of rebirth and self-discovery, we need to accept our flaws, but not focus on them. Like gemstones with inclusions, also known as flaws, that can make them unique and add to their value. We too can use our flaws to add value to our personality, the depth of our character, and even the amount of compassion we show ourselves and others. What we don't want is to focus on the flaw and not the overall package. My rules are: we don't give up, we don't give in, and we don't throw away the belief we have in ourselves. Even if the whole world thinks we're a lost cause, it says in the scripture, every soul is of infinite worth to God. So be curious about why this behavior is how you choose to express your feelings. I love asking questions. And most people that I have talked to and done this process with, they tell me they're stupid questions. So at one point, a friend of mine who's very dear to my heart told me there are no stupid questions, just inquisitive idiots. And I do believe I have mentioned that on here before, which is fine. That genuinely made me laugh. Because if I can ask a simple question and learn something that someone hasn't been able to identify or fix for years, then I am happy to be an inquisitive idiot with an endless supply of stupid questions. And they lead to simple solutions. That's my joy. So homework for this section is: how can being curious help you stay present? What questions give you the deepest insight into yourself and others? As you know, we've been doing questions since day one, so these are some questions that help me find me. But I want to know what helps you find you, because that's what this is all about. And do questions make you feel challenged? I've also seen that dynamic. If so, why do you feel like that? Let's see. Honestly, I love questions. I like asking people questions. I like getting to know how people work, because that lets you know what level of self they're kind of connecting with you on. a lot of them are very shallow, um, which I don't enjoy. Small talk, not gonna do it. Um, you want to talk about the weather? Look outside. I mean, it's self-explanatory. I don't I don't really have a desire to connect on a very superficial level. Um, like, if you want to know me, you're gonna know all of me, um, and that's just the way I am. Um, I have a lot of trouble with fake, superficial, surface level. I don't know. A lot of people, it's like the pleasantries, whatever. Like, hey, how are you? Great. Unless you want a 5 minute conversation about my life right now, don't ask. It's kind of like, maybe to some people that would be rude, but to me it's rude to just exchange fake, you know, like pleasantries. It's kind of like, I don't know. It feels gross anyway. To me, maybe I'm weird. Probably. Usually. Okay. um, yeah, there's a song that I have really come to love. It's called Weirdo by Concrete with a K. Um, and I love that song because it just feels like me and the ability to embrace yourself without caring. It's just who I am. It's how I function. It's what I do. And we shouldn't have to hide who we are because other people don't like it. That just means that you're misaligned with their energy, and move on. So let's see. People who find questions challenging, or as like an affront to who they are as a human being, are often expressing the discomfort of the ego. Um, let's see. My experience, without getting into too much detail, is that if I ask questions, I don't think any of these are very like pointed questions. Like, I'm not asking like, are you stupid? I'm not asking like, what were you thinking? Like, those kind of questions have no purpose, um, besides to provoke people to get mad. And they're not really meant to be answered. They're just like, it's like an insult. Um, that's how I take those questions. But the questions I ask have a deeper purpose. They circumvent the ego. Um, and that's where a lot of that, I mean, if you're getting mad about questions, like these questions, which are innately about you as a human being, if those get you to close off, if they make you like shut down, like, oh, like, how can being curious help me stay present? Curiosity doesn't matter. Like, that's just a bunch of BS. If you're in that mindset, you are very much in your ego. Um, these things are more about the realization of who you are beyond the ego. Um, I don't want to get too deep into stuff that isn't like currently related to this, but when you start finding those cracks in the mask the ego builds around you and the beliefs of like who you are, the more light that shines into that space, that lights up that shadow, the more you can incorporate that into who you are. I realize I say a lot in this video. And see. Okay, so, yep, still doing it. So, my joy is to find solutions to problems. Most of the time, that involves people, behaviors, and thought processes that don't add up, that don't mesh very well, that need to be tweaked a little bit. Sometimes it's as easy as a squeaky hinge, needs a little oil, and you're good to go. Sometimes it's more in depth. You need to take the cabinet door off, you need to sand it down, you need to repaint it, and then rehang it. It just depends on where you're at, what the problem is, and how much modification is going to take you to fix it. That's pretty accurate to each individual issue and each individual person and each individual experience. There's no cut and dry, this fixes this. I mean, when you think about us as just a physical body, no antibiotic treats every person the same way. So not every method of emotional, vibrational, and energetic evolution is going to function the same way for every person. So think, answer some questions, see how you feel. What's you? What's not? What's a reaction? And what is the ego trying to protect you from? Some extra questions if you want them. Okay? I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.